Hi there. Today I thought I'd have a look at a Chiroubles. Definitely you don't pronounce the S on it. So Chiroubles, one of the crus of Beaujolais. So this is from Domaine Lafarge Vial. It's 2019. Chiroubles, one of the 10 crus of Beaujolais. This is just to the north of Morgon and to the west of Fleurie. And to the west of Chiroubles are hills, so the vineyards will sort of rise to about 450 metres above sea level, so they're relatively high vineyards for Beaujolais, which means they're relatively cool in the summer, and so slightly later ripening and sometimes producing a lighter, fresher style of Cru Beaujolais than some of its neighbours. The producers here are Frederic and Chantal Lafarge. The Lafarge family, famous for running Domaine Michel Lafarge in Volnay, which evidently was started by Frederic's grandparents in the 18th century, so a long history of winemaking. But actually they only bought the first part of Domaine Lafarge Vial in 2014. Evidently Lafarge, obviously their family name. Vial is Chantal's middle name. The idea was, as a couple, they would create something themselves rather than running the estate that had belonged to his family. The ethos that they've worked with in Burgundy has followed them to Beaujolais, and they tend the vines biodynamically. So that's quite an exciting and interesting domain. They started off with just under 2 hectares and now have about 4. They're based in Fleurie and also have vineyards in neighbouring Chiroubles. The winemaking style tends to follow more that of Burgundy. They will allow somewhere between about 15 and 25% of whole bunches in the ferment, but they're not looking to do carbonic maceration and get vibrantly fruity wines. They're trying to be a little more serious than that. They're aging their wines in oak. It's a combination of barrique and foudre, both old, so barrique 228 litre barrels there, and foudre 3,000 litre casks. So just to sort of soften and give a little more complexity to the Beaujolais, to the Gamay in the Beaujolais. So let's have a look at the wine, shall we? Firstly, to say, worth having these in a big glass. I mean, Gamay has lovely aromatics, and if they're nicely captured, they can be fantastic. So have a big glass. You can give it a good swirl in there and really release them. And yes, this has a lovely intensity of pure, maybe quite simple fruit, but there's none of the sort of the estery banana note that you would get with a Beaujolais Nouveau. This is much more a sort of an intense red cherry, a darker and deeper note there, and it's a good intensity. And right at the back behind it, you can see the oak aging that's gone on there, because there are touches of sort of sweet spices, maybe a touch of nutmeg, probably more sort of cinnamon, perhaps even a tiny touch of ginger. So yeah, that's very attractive. Colour-wise, you've got a wine that is a medium ruby red. The pigmentation seems quite dark. It's not particularly purple, so it is that ruby red. It's got a lovely vibrancy to it, but by no means opaque. So the dark pigmentation isn't carrying through to depth of colour there. So let's have a taste. The wine's a mid-weight. It's got a lovely rounded fruit, but actually it's got a very good supporting structure of tannins there. They're not astringent, but there is a sort of a slight chalky drying note there. I would perhaps leave this another year before it really softens out, although with something like a saucisson sausage that would work really nicely. The fruit is, again, it's got that sort of rich cherry, maybe there's a little bit of dark mulberry, but there isn't a sort of an intense core. There's a nice intensity of good clean fruit. the acidity is fresh, but not overly so. And actually, it's the weight of fruit that's giving the wine length. The alcohol, I think, is about 13% noted on the label, and that gives it a roundness and a richness to the finish that helps it without being hot or interfering with the perfume there. Yeah, a relatively straightforward wine, but with some nice sort of complexing, spicy notes again on the end of the palate there, and whose flavours last reasonably well. It's a nicely balanced wine. So yes, Lafarge Vial's 2019 Chiroubles. Thank you for watching. Bye now.